Welcome to the Investing Stuff You Should Know podcast, where we bring you expert insights into the world of investing. My name is Johnny Nelson, your host. Today, we're thrilled to have Jeremy Kitchen as our special guest. Jeremy, we're going to let him kind of give the details of his bio, but it's been really cool. It was kind of the story essentially is one of they had a W-2, they were in a market with really a tremendous appreciation. They did a HELOC, and then since that time, they've kind of jumped with both feet into real estate investing. So we're going to let Jeremy share that story and how it's gone and what are the things we're going to learn. So Jeremy, thank you for being here with us, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Definitely appreciate it.
Awesome, man. So give us a little bit of background. So I think I mentioned that you were in, just tell us from the beginning. So you're in Coeur d'Alene, you're in Idaho,
Yep.
you bought your house recently. Yeah, just give us that story real quick.
Yeah. I'll run through the whole gauntlet there. So yeah, my wife and I, I started working at a real estate photography company back in 2019. I was working specifically with real estate investors. And I remember when I first got there, because it was a W-2 job, obviously, I thought these people were nuts. Honestly, like, what are you doing? You're buying distressed houses. You're hoping to make money on them. Like, it just sounds like such a gamble. And then, Newton's law or whatever it is, you hang around the five people, that just kind of comes what your mantra becomes. So I got the itch. I started following up on all the education, reading all the books. And then I ended up meeting my wife through that company too, because she was the transaction manager for the company. And we kind of hit it off, did that. In 2021, we got our primary residence in Idaho. Obviously, around that time, COVID was happening, and a lot of things happening in the world for sure. But we bought our house. We bought it for $305,000, and it was like, oh shit, this is a lot. This is crazy. We're doing it. Okay, we just met. We're buying a house. Within a
Life's
year,
happening fast here, Jeremy.
life is going for sure. Within that, obviously, before we even had the house built, there was $60,000 of equity in the house, just in the ground.
Amazing.
I was like, okay, wow, this is pretty cool. So at that point, we were like, okay, well, what do we do? Do we get a cash out refi? Do we refinance? We're just trying to think of investing strategies that would work for us. But we were still on a 2.5% interest rate with our mortgage. So we're never getting rid of that. That's free money, right?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So within a year, obviously, we got it appraised. We bought it at 305. It ended up appraising at 527. We took out a HELOC for $170,000, and off to the races we went. We had an investing plan. The first deal we did a hard money loan through our HELOC. We bought a house for some friends using our HELOC's money. The thing I like about that, though, it was a very, very secure deal. They got it about 50% loan to value. I didn't know what I was doing when I was making loans at that point. So that was a fun learning experience for sure.
Yeah, let's touch on that in a minute here, Jeremy. So
sure.
let's just kind of reset the stage here for the folks here. So Jeremy and his wife, they're kind of just maybe they met there at the office with an office romance, and then then we went to real estate. So that's a pretty fast transition for a lot of people, but also it sets the stage for what like could happen. So you all see Jeremy and his wife, they took advantage of the time and an opportunity and stepped into it. But let's talk about, Jeremy, the opportunity that you saw and why you guys felt emboldened and encouraged or whatever to go ahead and just make that. You felt like it was the right thing for you. Give us the mindset and the things that you kind of went through to make that decision.
Sure. Like I said, my wife was actually on part of the real estate team. She was the transaction manager. It is a priority, or you have to invest if you are part of that team. And I remember my wife got her first flip actually in 2019. So I would go there, and this is before we were even dating. I was just intrigued by the process.
Yes.
So I went and I helped her, paint the walls. I helped her do all the dirty crap. And I'm like, okay, you're going to make, $60,000, $80,000 off this flip. That's my W-2 income in 2 years. And that's when it clicked with me. I'm like, there is definitely something in real estate. Not like I want to flip anymore, but like there's definitely money to be made for sure. So.
Absolutely. So then you saw, between your wife and yourself, you had some knowledge, some experience, then you saw the possibility, the power of it. So that gave you the confidence, like, hey, this could work. So you're kind of on the periphery and some of the support services, essentially, of real estate, which there are a lot of people are.
Oh, sure.
But some people still don't have the courage, or that's not so much that they don't have the courage, it's, I guess, the vision perhaps to see that like this could work for them and to step into that.
Anyway, it's definitely hard to step in. I mean, obviously, I've been W-2. I grew up with a poor dad mentality. I love my dad, obviously, but he's going to work until he's dead. And that's not what I want to do. I want to work in different directions where I can utilize my time better and without breaking my body.
Awesome. Explain to the folks, probably a lot of people know, but let's just assume that they don't. Let's assume I don't. I actually have a
Sure.
HELOC right now in my house as well.
Hmm.
Walk through the basic principles of what HELOC is, and of course, you took advantage of strong appreciation. But
Hmm.
perhaps you've owned your house for a long time. Maybe you're an older person or an older couple, and you maybe already have a lot of equity built in. But go walk through the basics of what a HELOC is and how it could be utilized.
Sure, absolutely. So a HELOC, that actually just stands for home equity line of credit. So it's a line of credit in a second position lien on your house. So when you take out a HELOC, it actually puts on another lien on your house for a second position. Right now we have a variable rate, so it goes up and down every month, obviously. But what you can do is you can take that out, and with that, you don't have to do anything with your loan. So your home mortgage loan will stay exactly the same. The HELOC has its own loan on it. And that's nice if you don't want to change the terms of your loan. Say you're almost paid off with your house, or say you were in a high equity position, or you have a really good mortgage rate on your house. That's a good way to get a HELOC without having to do a cash out refi. Just a different way to do it. So again, it's just a line of credit that you're supposed to use for home repair on your house. But we did talk to the bankers beforehand, say, hey, we're going to be buying real estate with this. This is exactly what they're doing, and they were okay with it.
Right. Yeah. And they, when I applied for my HELOC, they actually gave a long list of some things that I even thought were, I think they mentioned vacation, and which
Hmm.
I think you and I both know as real estate, serious real estate professionals, like that's a rather ridiculous thing to use your HELOC. You can
Sure.
go ahead and do that since the one shot thing, but
Hmm.
that is, they do allow that.
Yeah.
So it really is up to the user to use it how they wish. But
Sure.
back to that mentality, like you said, of the rich dad, poor dad,
Hmm.
what are you doing with this money? You're just using it to spend on frivolous things, one shot things, or you're using your hard earned money to then put that into an asset and to make more money, which I think we both know is super important.
Right. The thing I like about it is it gives everyone, even the person who's just the average Joe, the option to invest. Right. So, like, I went into this without a lot of investing experience, but I knew that I could use this asset to make more money. So, what we did again with that first deal, we did a hard money loan on that first deal. We ended up making about $15,000 after all the fees we paid to our HELOC, which is a good first start on a HELOC. Like if somebody just wanted to take somebody else's money and make an extra 15,000 bucks, that's pretty cool.
It is. It totally is here. Just to give us a little local flavor, Jeremy, not really the point of where we're going, but just so people have a little context there. What is the
Mhm.
market now in Northern Idaho?
Medium home price, I think, is about 525. So it hasn't really dipped much from that time we actually got that HELOC. It dipped a little bit back in November, December, but it's climbing again. It's a very big vacation town. They do Ironman here, a lot of cool things. Spokane is just 30 minutes away, so it's definitely a hot spot to be in for the market for sure. But it makes it tougher to buy any other properties in this area at that same time.
For sure. What is the what are the new what's the new house market look like? Or is there still builders doing stuff, or is it is it down to a trickle? What does that look like?
It's down to a trickle for sure. I'm friends with a lot of builders, and they're definitely laying off the reins a little bit. So yeah, there's still new builds happening, but with the price of lumber and the price of everything that skyrocketed over the last couple of years, you have to be a lot more safe when you're doing new builds up here for sure.
Absolutely. So you guys took that HELOC and used that more or less as seed money to then become the bank,
Hmm.
the Jeremy and wife kitchen bank here, and
Yep,
just
yep.
start doing some cool things. I don't think people realize how, for the entrepreneurial, for the innovative, for the bold, really, that you can
Hmm.
do some really amazing things if you have, again, some seed capital, whether it's 20 grand, or like you guys had almost 10x that of 200 grand,
Hmm. Yep.
and really kick it off and do some interesting things. You mentioned real quick, Jeremy, about the hard money lending, and
Hmm.
maybe that has grown inside your business. But what does that look like? So, firstly, what are the things you need to look for as you start doing hard money lending? What are some of the things you need to protect yourself with? And then how did that become attractive?
Sure, 100%. So actually that started when we got our HELOC. I remember I didn't have an investment that I wanted to do myself, so I pitched it out to the team. I was like, "We have $170,000. Who wants some money?" And it just so happened there were some agents on the team that were
That
looking to
that
get a deal.
that tends to get people's attention, Jeremy.
That does, yeah, yeah. Money talks for sure. And again, we didn't know what we were doing at this first one, but it still ended up in a really good term. We ended up, I think the house price, it's been about a year and a half now, but the house price they got it at was $120,000 in it's Kellogg, Idaho. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the area up in the
Not so
mountains a
much.
little bit. Yeah, yeah. So it's $120,000 for just a single family 4-2. They were estimating selling it for about 250,000 with just a really light rehab called a wholesale. They just kind of cleaned it up and put it on the market. They were anticipating only doing the project for 2 months. Now, what I wanted in this is I wanted guaranteed interest. I'm like, I will happily fund 100% of the purchase price. And again, hard money lenders don't really do that. I'm learning for sure.
Yeah.
Do 100% of the purchase price, 0 down, 0 points. So yeah, that was a screaming deal for them. But what I did do is I did do
just for the folks on the listening, they're like, damn it, I wish I was there
right. Yeah,
for
I've learned definitely since then.
early
For sure,
Jeremy.
so.
I wish I would have like been at that table and said, I'll take some of that right now.
Right. And it was secured by itself, obviously. So if these investors failed, I got a $120,000 house that I could definitely make double my money on. So I was not worried about that. I was not worried about the integrity of the people. Again, actually doing that deal actually got the attention of hard money lenders. So now I work for them and I lend out their money for other projects and I use my HELOC for my own. So yeah, it
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute here, but
yeah. That deal led me to what I do now as a profession. So it all had a way of coming back to me for sure. I did do guaranteed interest for them. So I said, even if you do it in 2 months, I want 12 months of interest. They got it done in 2 months and I got my 12 months of interest and that was great. It was all done. I made a quick $12,000 to $15,000. They made, I think 80 or 90 combined and everyone was happy.
Yes. What, on the team, when you engage with somebody, what kind of trust do you feel like is the appropriate level of trust and due diligence on a project like that or project like that as you kind of step into the space?
Yeah, that one again, like I didn't exactly vet the deal, but we knew it was an appreciating market, and even if they failed, we were okay. It's again something that I didn't know how to lend until I lent. So I started doing these projects and then I realized I'm like, oh, I don't really like how that worked. I'm not going to do that next time. Or, oh, these sort of end up doing great. Next time I'm going to switch it up in more of my favor because, with the changing times, we do have a variable interest on our HELOC. So, what started out as 4% interest is now 8.5%. The same deals that made sense at 4.5 don't make sense at 8.5. So
for sure. What you mentioned in your bio, Jeremy, that you also have done some joint ventures. What is again, just kind of the looking at the landscape of the things you've done here, when this quick jump into real estate, which is super exciting, at least from my perspective. I think I love this. I love the story. I love the story we're telling here. What does that look like? And have you left your money in those deals? And what kind of deals have you joint ventured with other folks on?
The next deal I got, so obviously at the beginning when I was still trying to figure out investing before I wanted to lend, I was pitching to one of my partners. I'm like, hey, I've got $20,000. I want to do a flip with you. I want to do a flip. And I honestly bugged him until he did it. And that worked out really well. But we got into our first flip, which is now my rental because we just ended up keeping it long term. With that though, it was I gave him $20,000 and that was to help with the rehab. We were going to be 50-50 partners. We bought this sight unseen from a wholesaler and I would recommend people don't do that.
Sounds like a lesson. Tell us the lesson, Jeremy. Tell us why not. Like, it could be good, could be bad. Like
could
why
be good,
never?
Could be bad. Obviously, I mean, you want to trust your wholesalers, obviously, but then when they say, "Hey, this house is move-in ready, it's going to be a light cosmetic flip," and we get in there, and the day we get in there, the roof is caving in. There's subfloor missing. The HVAC was broken, and I'm like, "This is not a light flip. This is a whole remodel." So
this is a deep, heavy remodel. Yes.
I ended up forking up a little bit more money out of the HELOC. I ended up putting another, I think it was about 40 to 50,000 into that. We've since refinanced and I've gotten most of that money out, but we left some equity in the deal just in case we end up wanting to sell again later. So I still have about 20 grand in the deal, but it's cash flowing $1,000 a month right now. So that's, not too shabby.
That helps a lot here.
Sure.
Is that the only deal you've JV'd so far, and you're really focused on the hard money lending, or it's kind of an equal focus, I suppose, in either side?
Yeah, it's kind of an equal focus right now. That's the only rental I've done, but I have done about 3 or 4 other joint ventures. One of them, same guy I partnered with on my flip, actually, he needed some more funds to finish up another one of his flips. So my job in this one was I was to give him up to $10,000 in exchange for 10% of the equity when he sells.
Yeah.
And that ended up being a really good deal for me because I ended up only putting $2,700 into the deal and I made an extra 13,000 off that. So I turned 3,000 into 16,000, which was a pretty cool deal in a couple months.
Those returns are amazing, man. Those returns are amazing. So Yeah, that's
And
really
then
good.
done a couple other things. I got a flip going right now. This one is going a little bit long. We originally had plans to have one of our buddies be the contractor. He unfortunately got injured, so we had to hire out our contracting work, which obviously changes your prices. I'll still make money, just not going to be the $25,000-$30,000 I was anticipating. So
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned something that caught my interest, Jeremy, at the beginning or towards
mhm,
the beginning of the conversation. You said you got the interest of some other hard money lenders and they're
mhm.
relying on you to manage or find the deal or engage with partners. If you can explain the relationship there and what these other hard money lenders saw and needed in you and what the service you're providing.
Sure. Yeah. So again, I'm just kind of brokering money for these hard money lenders. But they found out I was doing the deal at 0 points, 0% down, and he called me and he's like, "Hey, this is bad for our business. Just so you know, like we're professional lenders. It's nothing against you. I know you're trying to make a quick buck, but if you want to learn how to lend and lend effectively, we would love to have you work for us. So basically, my job is I go find people who need hard money loans, and then I'm just the liaison between the lender and the buyer."
Awesome, man. Yeah. I could see why why they might reach out to you and express some concern, but also
Yeah.
like, hey, like you could bring this new guy under our wing here and show him how how the pros do it. And
Yep.
what is the advantage? And what I guess to that, let's maybe turn that into a question.
Mhm.
What is some of the fundamental things you've learned professionalizing that idea
Mhm.
of hard money lending? Because I've done some hard money lending too. And
Sure.
also, I'm like you. Well, or maybe I was like you. We're
Mhm.
very green. I talked to some people, some mentors, some other people, like make sure this, and this is in there. But from your perspective, what are some things you've learned since as you engage with these more professional hard money lenders?
Sure, absolutely. I think I've learned to vet deals a little bit better, to be honest with you. I learned that you need to have a little bit of skin in the game if you're going to be doing any sort of partnerships. And lenders risk, it is a real thing, right? They don't want to just trust your word. They want to trust the numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, you can come to me and say like, "Oh, I've got this screaming deal, I'm getting it at half value." And then we start doing our research and I'm like, "This isn't a deal. You don't have a deal yet, unfortunately."
right, right.
And I do
What
think
what
honestly,
is the
go
vetting
ahead.
process? What does the vetting process look like? Give us like specifics there.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. We don't go into like your credit or anything like that. We take a quick credit screenshot to make sure that you're capable of holding the credit. You don't have a really bad credit score or anything like that. Really, what it comes down to is just that loan to value and loan to cost. To be honest with you, the loan to value sweet spot we're really looking for is around 70 to 80% loan to value. So definitely have some equity in the deal. And in order to have equity in the deal, you either need to get a really good deal or you need to come with some money down.
Yeah,
And again, that helps make it so our lenders are trusted and verified that you can do this. In the case of any foreclosure or anything like that, they know that they can move this property quickly enough and recap all their money.
absolutely. Talk to us a bit, if you would, Jeremy, on, and this is kind of an opaque area that unless you're a real estate investor or a flipper, that's kind of outside that knowledge
Mhm,
domain, is there's quite a few people out there with money, and
mhm,
there's not a, and there's also a pool of people that are actually willing to lend that money too. So
mhm.
that's what this whole world is based on, of hard money lending.
Sure.
Yeah, talk to us about that, of where, how do these people connect? Where do they get their money? How do they kind of grow up and get into the business? Is it just folks like you, or is it other people? What
Sure.
have you seen?
Yeah, yeah. So I've only met my main point of contact. A lot of them are out of state. But my main contact has lived in the area forever, and he just has his investors. So he basically is the connector for the other investors at that
Yeah,
point. When I pitch him a deal, he sends out the email like, "All right, Jeremy's got a new deal. This is what it is." We've got a pool of about 25 to 35 people who are willing to invest on any of our projects. Um, we have about $250 million in funds, so we're pretty liquid right now,
yeah,
which is
that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And as long as the deal makes sense, like 10 people will get in, and as long as all 10 people get in, they have to be at an equal partnership when that happens, right? So if the deal needs to get extended or they need additional funds, if you put in 50% at the beginning, you need to put in an additional 50% of whatever comes out as well.
I see.
So
You have
everything
to
has to be
have that commitment up front. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yep. So if it ends up going longer, which we try to make deals that don't, obviously, and that's where the vetting process comes in. We want investors that are going to do their job and do it good and do it quick. And we want that repeat business. You had a good time working with us. We had a good time working with you. Let's do it again. Let's run that back. So
Amazing, man. Let's wrap up the final segment of the show, Jeremy, and talk about your social media game. And I've been
Hmm.
talking to a number, my presence. I like LinkedIn a lot, a little bit in
Hmm.
Facebook, YouTube, this, that, and the other. And of course, it takes a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of effort. Some people are
Sure.
just better at it. I'm sure your stuff is probably far better than my stuff. I'm okay at it at
I'm working,
best.
man. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah. What what are the different channels you're on? And I can actually see a list, but I just want you to speak to it. And
Sure.
then what has been your approach to it? You mentioned real quickly at the beginning that you're a photographer. So I'm thinking
Hmm.
like, hey, Jeremy's probably creative. He's got, different ways of setting this up. He's got a little bit of an edge there already. So talk to
Sure.
to a technical person like myself as an engineer, not the non-creative, all about the numbers, blah, 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 construction manager.
Hmm.
Talk to us about how one uh finds traction and some tips and techniques inside the social media space.
Sure. I think in order to find traction in social media, you have to do a couple things. The first thing you have to do is be consistent. It's not like a one and done posting. Obviously, I could post one video and be like, oh, I'm done. I did my social media forever. It doesn't really work like that. You have to be consistent and you have to show up and you have to engage with other people. And you have to have actually conversations. And we obviously made up on LinkedIn and you were looking for podcast guests. And that's how that ended up happening. Right. So
Yeah,
that's it all leads to somewhere for sure. So you have to be consistent and you have to be engaging and you have to provide value with your content. And in order to provide value, I think having a different perspective that somebody else hasn't seen, talking about your deals, just being your authentic self on social media and posting that regularly is going to get you the most followers and the most bang for your buck for sure.
awesome. What channels are you on?
Right now, I am on LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and I just started Twitter. I'm not too good at it, but just recycling the old content that I've done and putting it all out there. So
Where do you feel like the best where do you feel like your voice is most natural? Which channel do you feel like it just resonates the best or the most
sure.
followers, whatever metric
Yeah,
you
yeah.
use?
I think the best place I've done so far is Instagram. There's a lot of other investors, and the thing I like about Instagram is you can just see all the work everyone else is doing because a lot of these other people are making content, right? It's very hard to stick out, and that's not exactly the point. The point is just to be consistent with it, but you do have to continue, trying to stick out and break that mold for sure. But you see a lot of other investors fix and flips. You see, hey, here's how I got financing on this, and it's just a really cool place to talk and interact with for sure.
I see. That's awesome. I'm not on Instagram at all. And I like kind of resisted it just because I just don't feel like it's my thing.
Sure.
But also, I know a handful of people that have found success on Instagram. Do you feel
Hmm.
like it's a personality thing? We're just chatting through this
Sure.
journey. Do you feel like it's a
It could
personality
be.
thing where it's like, hey, this like just Instagram is just kind of me, the dynamic and the way this is
Mhm.
done and executed? You feel like that's there's something that's kind of innate to you or no?
Sure. It honestly depends. Honestly, I'm a 35-year-old dude. I was so against getting on TikTok, and I got on TikTok. I was like, there's people on TikTok. The worst that can happen is I get some more eyeballs on my stuff.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not exactly like thrilled. I'm like, okay, I gotta go post on TikTok, but it's just another social avenue where people can see what I'm doing. And the more people that see what I'm doing, the more conversations like this I'm gonna end up having.
for sure. What is that? And well, this will be the final topic we'll touch on here. What is your, I guess, your strategy? Do you use any like Buffer or HubSpot or something like that to broadcast to different channels, or do you manually post that out? How do you manage the different when you're on that many channels? I imagine unless you want to spend an entire day or two on that, do you have some tools that you use to facilitate?
That's a really good question, and I honestly wish I had tools. I've never even heard of those things you just pitched
Oh
me.
wow! Oh,
Yep,
gotcha. Okay.
I'm manually putting that stuff on all the platforms. But the good thing about it is I can make it once and it almost goes everywhere. Other than like, LinkedIn, YouTube Shorts or anything like that. I just need to recut just a little bit off of some of my content, make it less than 60 seconds, put those subtitles on. That's all pretty automatic, and then it's just uploading to the content. So uploading to the platform.
Awesome, man. I love your fresh take, Jeremy. I love the freshness of your recent foray into this, and I think that's what the audience is going to get out of this is,
Sure.
someone that wasn't, again, we're just for the audience here, someone that has not been in the real estate space adjacent to it, and then they quickly got into it, and then they're just going, like both feet, really hitting it hard, and then of course talking about, as we both know, what is becomes relevant to a lot of people, realtors, agents, flippers, investors, a lot of that becomes very relevant after a bit as you start trying to build your own personal brand wherever you are,
Sure.
and then that becomes just a kind of a core piece of your business as well. So
Mhm.
So beautiful. All right. Well, thank you for everyone here at the Investing Stuff You Know podcast for listening to another great episode. I love these kinds of conversations. We take you all kinds of places here. This one has been very exciting and fresh for me. I love bringing folks like Jeremy on that have a fresh take and that are recent to give you inspiration for things you're doing. Jeremy, anything that you want to share for, besides, I can actually drop all your links in there. Anything that you're working on or that you want to share for the audience before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, honestly, definitely thanks so much for having me on. But the thing I want to share is, take action and arm yourself with knowledge. That's all it takes to get started in this business. And that's all it takes to really get successful. Take action and arm yourself for what can happen. And then just do both those and ride that roller coaster.
Beautiful. All right. Until next time, folks, give us a like, give us a follow, spread the word. Later. Bye.